This is the Scoop and Score, a channel that brings you all of your sports needs. Now, here's your host, Tyler Gray.
What is up, Scoop and Score family? This is your host, Tyler Gray, coming at you on the day before the draft. It is the 2022 Draft Eve, Wednesday the 27th tonight, and I'm dropping my final mock draft before the big night, doing a 7-round Cowboys mock draft. But before we start that, I'm going to be showing you guys my top 5 in each position group. We're going to go through it real fast, and we're going to hop right into this mock and get it out of the way. Just a quick reminder, if you haven't already, go to the Twitter page, look at the pinned tweet. It's at the Scoop Score on Twitter. Go there, like the pinned tweet, retweet the pinned tweet, and follow the account and post below your all 32 mock draft, and you will be entered into the $50 Fanatic gift card giveaway. The person who gets the most correct picks will win. Now, I haven't mentioned this, but if there is for some reason a tie, then it's going to be based on tiers, where if you get the most right in the top 10, then you're going to take over. If it's the same for that, then the next tier, 11 through 20, if you get the most in that tier over the next person, then you're going to win, and so on and so forth. So anyways, I know I have the mock draft pulled up, but I'm about to reveal my top 5 for each position group right now. Bam. All right. Let's go over the quarterbacks real fast. As Cowboys fans, we don't really have anything to worry about. We're not going to be taking a quarterback early. We all know that. But just for reference, I got Malik Willis 1. I think he just has the most upside. I would not want to be a team needing a quarterback in this draft, especially early on. I think all these guys, to be honest, are like second-round grades, if not worse. But it's quarterbacks, so you know they're probably going to get taken earlier. Malik Willis 1, Kenny Pickett 2, which I think Kenny Pickett, if you need a day one starter, he's going to be your best bet. But I think Malik Willis has the true upside potential. Someone that I think also has a lot of upside, he's coming off an injury though. I think he just has a very accurate, quick release, is Matt Corral at Ole Miss. He's my third quarterback. And then you got Desmond Ridder. He's kind of your, who's a good comp for Desmond Ridder? He's almost like a poor man's Carson Wentz when coming out of the draft. He can throw the ball. He has a pretty big arm, but there's some accuracy questions. He can run the ball, has some size, can move around the pocket. And then I have Sam Howell rounding out that top 5, which Sam Howell kind of fits in that Kenny Pickett category. Pickett has a little bit more college production. Howell was better when he had all those guys that ended up being good pros the year before last at North Carolina, when he had the Jamal Williams, Michael Carter, the De'Ami Brown. Those guys all got drafted. They left. He didn't have as good of a year, so I think he's just kind of more of a product of what's around him. Moving on, running backs. I'm going to go through this real quick. Boom, boom, boom. Breece Hall, I think he's just the best overall all-around back. Tested very well. Number 2, Isaiah Spiller from my alma mater, A&M. I think he reminds me a lot of Arian Foster. He's going to be very good in zone schemes. Power schemes, he'll do fine. But I think he's going to thrive if he goes to a zone scheme team. Off the top of my head, a good fit for him would maybe be somebody like the... I had it in my mind earlier, but I just went blank. Someone like the Titans, who, you'd want Spiller to come in and think that he would be the starter right away, if not in the next year or two. But with Derrick Henry there, that probably wouldn't be the case, but I think their scheme would fit him very well. Then I got Kenneth Walker out of Michigan State. He's a bowling ball. He reminds me of a faster Maurice Jones-Drew. Not as thick, but he can move too. And then I got Dalvin Cook's younger brother, James Cook, out of Georgia as my 4th running back. And I got Brian Robinson out of Alabama as my 5th guy. He sat behind some good backs there. He had a lot of production when he did get the ball. He's going to be a guy that I would like to have as my number 2 guy. Maybe he can develop into a number 1 everyday back. But if your guy got hurt, I wouldn't be, fretting, I guess, if he was having to start a game for some reason. All right, moving on. Now, this is a big talking point for Cowboys fans, receiver rankings. All right. Now, there's been talks lately about Drake London being their top guy on the board. He's my number 4th guy. I like Drake London a lot. A lot of these receivers are good. I just think that the only true game breaker out of this receiving class is the one that is coming off an injury, Jameson Williams out of Alabama. His speed is, you can't teach that. You can't teach his speed. He's a solid route runner, not a great one. He can develop in that area of his game. However, you're getting a lot of Tyreek Hill comps, which, yeah, I can see that. He's a little bit taller, a little bit longer than Tyreek Hill, but he has that game-breaking speed. Next, you got Garrett Wilson. He's probably going to be your best all-around guy right now. Come in, plug and play. His teammate Chris Olave, he didn't crack my top 5, which might be an unpopular opinion. I think he'd also be, Olave I'm talking about, would also be a very good plug-and-play guy as well. However, I just don't think he has a whole lot of upside. He's not that big. He doesn't do much after the catch. He is a very polished route runner. That's why I think he can come in. And like if Chris Olave won Rookie of the Year, if he went to like a Green Bay or Kansas City, I wouldn't be any bit surprised. But he's going to be kind of more of your number 2, like solid, very solid number 2 option. But Jameson Williams, number 1. Game breaker. Garrett Wilson, number 2. He's a guy that can adjust to any ball that you throw. He has really good speed. He plays at a very good pace when he's running his routes as well. Number 3, got George Pickens. The past few days I've been hearing buzz about how some teams are kind of turned off by him from the off-the-field stuff. Now, I don't really know. I'm not sitting there interviewing these guys. I'm just basing this all off film. Before he got hurt last year for the national championship team, he was a stud. He has great film against top opponents in the SEC. Great size, great ball adjustment, very subtle and quick feet as well. So he's my number 3 guy. Next, you got Drake London coming off of an ankle injury, which he should be all healed up on. But he's going to be your, comp to like a Michael Thomas. Big body guy. You would want to line him up in the slot a lot of the times as well. Red zone threat. I've heard people say, Mike Evans is similar to him. I think Mike Evans has better top end speed than Drake London, though. Mike Evans, once he gets striding down the sideline, he can really get after it. Drake London, I don't see that as much. So I'd rather play him inside. And then rounding out my top 5 is Treylon Burks out of Arkansas. His film is a little weird because that Arkansas offense was so different compared to pro-style offenses. They didn't really have a true quarterback. They almost had a running back playing that position. But he can do a lot after the catch. And if you have a guy that can do a lot after the catch, then I think he's very valuable in today's NFL. Moving on, tight ends. You got Trey McBride, 1, Greg Dulcich, number 2, Jelani Woods, number 3, the 6'7", 4'5" guy out of Virginia. Hearing a lot of buzz. He just has awesome traits. He might take a little bit of time, though. Then I got Jeremy Ruckert, number 4 out of Ohio State. He didn't have a whole lot of production there in Columbus, but I think he's going to transition to the NFL very well. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Mark Andrews, who plays for the Ravens. Not a burner, but someone who uses his body very well, catches the ball with his hands well. And then number 5, this might be an unpopular opinion. You can say I'm biased because he's from A&M. But Jalen Weidemeyer, he didn't test good at all. He actually tested horrible. And if I were him, I'd be asking myself, why the hell did I run the 40? Why did I do these drills knowing that would be my time? So I'm a little uncertain why he did that, because his tape is so good, though. His production in college, even as starting out his freshman year, he's A&M's all-time leading receiver as a tight end. And that's in the SEC, people. It's not like he's at some mid-American team putting up these numbers. He's in the SEC being productive with subpar quarterback play as well. Being an A&M alum, I watched a lot of their games. Even when they had Kellen Mond, who was taken in the 3rd round last season, He wasn't a very accurate quarterback. Weidemeyer is a big target, especially in the red zone. And even though he's not going to burn you down the field necessarily, he's a handful after the catch. He's built like a power forward. Next, you got Ike Ekwonu at offensive tackle, my number one guy on the board. Um, he is a little, my one knock on him, he is a little stiff kneed. But with that being said, if he's stiff kneed and being that powerful out on the field, you can kind of, I guess, coach him up a little bit to get him more bend, get him in the weight room a little bit, more flexibility. He's my best prospect in the whole draft, just because of that pure size and strength. Next, I got Charles Cross, my number two tackle. He's a super athlete out there. He needs to hit the weight room a little bit, but his quick feet, his length, all that's going to transition very well into the NFL. Next is Evan Neal. He's somebody that I think day one would probably be best as a guard, but you'd be fine with him being your offensive tackle. I could see Evan Neal falling outside of the top 10 because of those reasons. I know people have had him mocked in the top 10 for as long as you can remember, but that's just my opinion. Next, you got Nicholas Petit Fier out of Ohio State. This guy, his bad snaps in the whole season came from two guys. Really, it was Aiden Hutchinson and David Ajabo. Sorry, two teams. Those two guys out of Michigan, and then when he played Ebiketie, the edge rusher from Penn State, he got beat a few times. But other than that, he looked like an All-American. I think he's a guy that has very good traits, very good size, length. Um, I see him more as a right tackle in the NFL, though, but he's a big guy. He can maul you around. And then fifth is Trevor Penning, which I was on the fence about this, but his physicality and his nastiness, it might transition or translate better to being a guard in the NFL because he has a lot of technique and a lot of footwork to clean up. But that tenacity, that intensity, that physicalness is just not something you can really coach. So that's why he snuck in there to my top five tackles. All right, interior offensive line. I grouped the centers and the guards together. Number one, Tyler Linderbaum out of Iowa. Um, you know, Speaking on the Cowboys' behalf, there's been a lot of buzz about how they're not interested in him. Maybe that's a smokescreen because this guy can flat out play. He's a top, 15, top 20 guy on my board. Um, he's someone that is going to do better in a zone scheme rather than a power blocking scheme. He may struggle early on in pass protection just because he's not, super massive. He's about 295, 300 maybe. Get him in the weight room. Maybe he can't put on weight, and if so, that might be an issue. But you look at the Eagles, Jason Kelsey, longtime Pro Bowler. He's been successful at a lower rate or lower weight. Number two, I got Kenyon Green. I think he just has tremendous knee bend. He has position flexibility. He can play tackle if you have some injuries. I'm going to prefer him to play guard. Um, and he's going to be solid across the board when you're watching film. He doesn't have too many bad snaps. Next, I got Zion Johnson out of Boston College. Very good at sustaining his blocks, very good at changing direction while pass protecting as well. Apparently, based on what I've heard through interviews, he's an extremely smart player as well, which having that at the offensive line is very crucial in the NFL, making checks. Um, you know, just knowing your assignment on the offensive line is where it starts. Next, I got Darian Kennard. He played tackle at Kentucky. He's going to be a guard in the NFL. He's a big mauler. Somebody that I think if you target in the second round, early third, I think you're going to get a really good football player. And then next, I got Ed Ingram out of LSU. He's somebody who's going to benefit from being around better players at first. Uh, I think that his style of play reminds me a lot of Ron Leary. He's very not super athletic, but can move a little bit. But he's gonna want to get up on you and just kick your ass. Um, all right, moving on to defense, the edge position: Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeau. Then I got George Karlaftis, number 3, Trayvon Walker, number 4, Jermaine Johnson, 5. Hutchinson, he just has so much production in college. he may not be a perennial all-pro guy in the league, but I think he's going to be a very good football player. Being drafted in the top echelon of the draft, that's what you want. You don't want to bust. Kayvon Thibodeau, he, I mean, he may as well be the best defensive player coming off this draft, but there's a little bit unknown. Have some injury issues, have some motor issues as well, but all the skills are there. Under the right, guidance at the right team, I think he can really thrive. That might be a pick where if he slides a little bit, there's been buzz about the Cowboys trading up for him. Matter of fact, I had a dream a few nights ago that the Cowboys traded up to number 3 overall to pick, or I didn't see the pick in the dream, but it was talked about for him. I don't see the Cowboys trading up to all the way to 3, but if he slides to 10, 11 somehow, watch the Cowboys go up there and make a move. Mike Fisher reported today that there's a big buzz about the Cowboys wanting to move up. We don't know who for. I think he could be the target. Number 3, George Karlaftis. He's a guy that wins many different ways. Not a super athlete, but he's going to be a very good professional football player. Number 4, this is a guy who currently has the number 1 odds to be first overall in the draft. He's my 4th overall edge. Trayvon Walker out of Georgia. And by no means do I dislike this player. I think he's a good football player. I just think that his best film came from inside at the 3 technique position. He came in 275. I think you get him up to 290, 295, and he would be a force as a 3 tech. You're not going to want to take a 3 tech first overall unless they're Aaron Donald, which, you never know. And then rounding out that edge position, Jermaine Johnson out of Florida State. He has all the tools. Looks like he takes a few plays off on film. But if you're able to shape him up, then he's going to be a very good prospect for you. Next, defensive tackle, Jordan Davis. Tested crazy at the combine. His testing doesn't really match his film, but his film is still awesome. He's somebody that the Cowboys have desperately been looking for and haven't really addressed in years past. If he falls to them, depending on how the board shakes up, I would be ecstatic if they could get Jordan Davis. I just don't think that's somebody that I would necessarily trade up for, and I don't think they would trade up for, being a 1 technique. Not really knowing how many snaps he can provide, but awesome prospect. Second, Devontae Wyatt, his teammate there at Georgia. There's a lot of Georgia guys on this list. Go figure. But he's just as crazy of an athlete as Jordan Davis. He's going to play a 3 technique, has extremely good burst off the line of scrimmage, has some good bend. Next, you got Logan Hall, which there's been some connection to Dallas as well. Apparently, not Rod Marinelli. That's a few years ago. Sorry, Dan Quinn has really been intrigued about Logan Hall. Has extremely good length and plays with great leverage. Fourth, I got DeMarvin Leal out of A&M. It's a guy who was talked about being a top 10, top 15 guy preseason. I have some questions about him. Even watching him, it seems, throughout the game sometimes that, he's about to take over, but he doesn't. He gets blocked a little, or he doesn't get off blocks too easy sometimes, which gives me some concern. And then rounding out that list is another 1 technique, Travis Jones out of UConn. That's somebody that in the second round the Cowboys took, I'd be very happy about. Linebackers, Nakobe Dean, Devin Lloyd, Quay Walker, Chad Muma, Leo Chenal. Nakobe Dean, he's a top 10 guy in this whole class for me. Yes, he's undersized people, but, a good comp is Roquan Smith, another Georgia guy a few years ago, plays for the Bears. This guy's a missile, and he knows where he's going. He knows where he's supposed to go. He reads plays so well, and that's just going to take you a long way at the linebacker position. Next, I got Devin Lloyd, all-around great athlete. He's somebody that can rush the passer pretty well. I'm not going to say he's similar to Micah Parsons, but I see a lot of the same type of game. He's not as twitchy as Micah, but very good football player. And I got Quay Walker, another Georgia guy, Nakobe Dean's teammate. He's a guy that might take a little bit of there might be a little learning curve for his game, just kind of getting used to the NFL and things like that, but he has all the traits. Chad Muma, smaller school guy, tested extremely well. He's a very good athlete. I think he's going to help you right away on special teams. If not, he'll be in the rotation as well. And then I got Leo Chenal out of Wisconsin. He's going to be your traditional downhill thumper type of middle linebacker. That might not be everybody's cup of tea in today's NFL, but I think he's somebody that can come in and play first and second down very well for you. Maybe start developing better as a pass defender because he has a lot of good length. Maybe for a zone scheme team, he'll fit better just because he can kind of if he has to roam a zone, he uses his length. He has good athleticism, just not super twitchy. Maybe if he has to drop back and cover a back in man coverage, he might get burnt. But yeah. So anyways, cornerback next, Sauce Gardner out of Cincinnati. I think he's a top 5 guy in this whole draft class. Didn't get scored on in college. I know that everybody knows that. Next, I got Derek Stingley. He's a top 10 guy for me, maybe even a top 5 if you really want to argue about it. But, there's question marks. That's why he's only top 10. Trent McDuffie, next, third cornerback overall out of Washington. A little undersized, but extremely smart football player from what I've heard. Then you got Andrew Booth out of Clemson. Very good length. Has good film against good teams. That's somebody that I think Dan Quinn might have an eye out for, depending on how this board falls. The Kelvin Joseph stuff looming, who knows? But then fifth, rounding out that cornerback position is Cam Taylor-Britt out of Nebraska. He's going to be more of your nickel back, but he's somebody who's not afraid to hit, not afraid to run downhill, can cover. He's just going to be a good football player. I feel like, someone like the Patriots would love to have Cam Taylor-Britt in the second round. Um, anyways, going on to the safety position. Now, this might be unpopular, but I have Dax Hill, safety out of Michigan. He played mostly nickel this past season. I see him more as a free safety. But in packages, he can come down to man cover. And being able to do that as a safety is very big. You can bring in another deep guy and put him down in the slot. He's not going to come off the field. Next, you got Kyle Hamilton. Good athlete. Pretty good film. Not great, though. I know there's been a bunch of buzz about him. I see too much, I'm not going to say Jamal Adams, but pretty similar. Then I got Jalen Petrie. He's a lot like Daxon Hill, kind of Swiss Army knife in the back end. Lewisine, my fourth safety out of Georgia. Um, he has a little bit of question marks, in my opinion, in terms of being able to cover or play center field. Um, and being on that defense, there's so many good players that have came from that defense. It was hard to evaluate them because when you're watching one, you're gonna look at another. That's just what happened. And then fifth safety, Jaquan Brisker out of Penn State. Um, I think whoever takes him, he's gonna start right away. But I don't think that he has like all pro caliber ceiling. Sorry, I got a fly flying around in here. All right, and then last but not least, our special teams guy, Matt Araiza, the punter out of San Diego State. He's going to get drafted. Cade York, my number one kicker out of LSU. I would love for the Cowboys to take one of these kickers next. Burkchick out of Oklahoma. All these guys on this list, super accurate guys, have a big leg. Cameron Dicker fourth, and then I believe it's Jaden Stout, punter out of Penn State, rounding off that list. So there's my top 5 for each position. You saw it here first. I'm going to be posting this on Twitter after this gets done recording and goes live. But all right, guys, we're going to move on to our final mock draft of the year. 7-round mock for the Cowboys. Pro Football Focus. I'm going to put it a little bit slower to start. Let's see how this board falls. So we got Trayvon Walker, Aiden Hutchinson, Gardner, Aquanu, Stingley, Cross, Hamilton, Neal, Thibodeau goes 9. Okay, if you got outside that top 10, I was about to stop it and maybe try to trade up. I posted a mock on Twitter earlier, us going up to number 10 and getting him. I asked Jeff Kavanaugh, who, if you don't follow him, you should. He's a great guy, has great information. I really respect his work that he does. And he's his number 2 prospect. If he gets number 10, He was apparently going to be the number one guy at the beginning of the year. Now there's some question marks, but anyways, here's our pick. Chris Olave's still here. Um, Penning's still here. Kenyon Green. I don't think I would take Penning here in the first round. Traylon Burks. Zion Johnson. It looked like he went to the Patriots a couple picks before. Let's see who wants to trade. The Packers want to trade at 28. The way this board is, there's a few guys. If I had to pick here, um, I'd probably pick Kenyon Green or Dax Hill actually. But I want to trade back right here with the Packers. Give me 28 and give me 53, and I'll give you 24. You're not going to take that. Give me 59. Not accepted. Okay, what if I give you Cleveland's fifth? Will you come up? Yeah, they will. All right. Got rid of one of my 4 fifth rounders, moved back 4 spots, and picked up an extra second. Count me in. Count me in. Let's see how this board falls. Sky Moore. They came up to get Sky Moore. Okay. That's another Jeff Kavanaugh guy. Lewis Seen to the Bills. I don't really need a safety, but Chris Olave to the Titans. Kyer Elam. Now here we are at 28. Hmm. You know what? This would be tough. This would be tough. I would be fine with Dax Hill, Kenyon Green, or Traylon Burks right here. That's what it's going to come down to. Um, Kenyon Green will be your plug and play left guard. Traylon Burks would come into the receiver rotation. I need some help. Dax Hill, though, on the other hand, we just re-signed Malik Hooker. We have Jordan Lewis to play the slot as well. It's not as pressing of a need. So for that reason, I'm going to boil it down to Kenyon Green and Traylon Burks, which we've taken both before in our mocks. Kenyon Green being let's go back to this, number 2 interior offensive lineman. Linderbaum's gone. Then Traylon Burks being my 5th receiver. I'm going to go ahead and take Kenyon Green at 28. Let me speed this up for you guys. Going still kind of slow here. Come on, come on. Fix the pace, fix the pace. We don't want to keep our listeners here all night on draft eve. You gotta go to sleep. You gotta put milk and cookies out for your GM. Come on now. Let's go. Sorry guys, I don't know what's going on with this simulator, but that was kind of. All right, here we go. So now we got almost back-to-back picks in the second round. We took Kenyon Green. We got Trey McBride, our number 1 tight end, on the board. If you want to trade, I don't want to go out of the second round here. Logan Hall's on the board. We have links. That's going to be our pick. Logan Hall out of Houston, our second round pick. And now we have another pick. Looks like Trey McBride is still here. John Mechie just went. What other receivers are here? Someone who's not in my top 5, but because we're this deep in the second round, and someone who I think has a very high ceiling, he might just take a little while, is Christian Watson, North Dakota State wide receiver. He may be the pick here. You got Cam Taylor-Britt, who I really like. Trey McBride, our number 1 tight end. This is what we're going to do. We're going to take Trey McBride here. Reason being, Dalton Schultz still under the franchise tag. He's going to be with us next year, but maybe he's gone. Now we have our tight end of the future. We can run 2 tight end sets. They're very similar players. I think McBride has a little bit more giddy up on him, though, which will be nice to maybe stretch the field a little bit more from the inside. But that's our pick. Let's see if Alec Pierce can fall here to us in the 3rd round. See, Christian Watson went. Sam Williams, another guy that's been linked to us. Did Alex Pierce, he fell to us. All right, that's going to be our pick right away. We got our receiver in the 3rd round. I'm very high on Alec Pierce. He has a lot of good traits. He has very good he's very good at high pointing the ball. Has good speed, not elite speed, but good enough. And I think right now I'm just going to kind of sit back. I can't see the board, unfortunately, so maybe this is a spot where we look to trade up. You know what? Since it's our last draft, let's trade up. I'm gonna give 129 and our 178 for 111. Give our one of our other fifth round picks. We're gonna trade up, and this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna take. I would want to take Dominique Robinson, edge out of Miami, Ohio. Very good traits. But I'm gonna take Luke Fortner. He's gonna go battle it out with Tyler Biadasz. We're gonna add another piece to the offensive line, which I think a lot of fans will be happy with. Can I can I speed this up, please? Come on. Well, there's no change in pace whenever I change it. Sorry for the darkness too. I'm recording this at night. My green screen behind me kind of casts a shadow. I got to figure this out moving forward, but just apologizing. Um, we moved up to the fourth round, so we don't have any other picks until our pick at 167. We gave up our 155 earlier in the draft with the Packers trade to move back in the first, but then we picked up that extra second as well. So now we currently only have 2 5th-round picks and then our 6th-round pick. And I think I'm going to stay put. I'm going to throw darts at the board. This is a spot where I want to add depth, guys that can compete for roster spots. But right now, I'm going to go check this special teams. So we got Cameron Dicker, Perchik. They have him listed as a punter. I just don't see that. Matt Areza. We just re-signed our punter, and that's the only thing. I'm going to hold off on that. Let's see who else is here. That's kind of where you start taking flyers. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and double dip because this guy from North Carolina, Azudu, fell. I think he's more of like a third, fourth round guy. He's here in the fifth. I'm going to take that value, add to the offensive line again. That's 3 offensive linemen already through round 5, 2 guards and a center. Reminder though, Kenyon Green was our first round pick. Maybe something happens to Tyron Smith or Terrence Steele. Then Kenyon Green goes out to tackle since we don't have a clue about Josh Ball. Then Azudu has to fill in at guard. Maybe he can compete with McGovern for that, backup guard spot. Here at the end of the 5th round, I see a guy that was in my top 5 running backs, and that's Brian Robinson Jr. I think he's a guy that can come in, compete with Rico Dowdle, have a little bit more upside than Dowdle, and he'd be able to contribute on special teams with the way he's built. He's not a small guy. He'd be able to run down the field and put a hit on someone. So I'm going to take that in the 5th round, kind of give our running back. Who knows about Zeke? Pollard's on his last year. I think that's good value right there. Now here we have our last pick of the draft. Look at the special list. I'm going to take Cameron Dicker, kicker out of Texas. He's going to be our kicker for the next 4 years. Accurate guy. And I'm happy with this. I'm happy. Let's see if we can speed this up. Because I'm not trading back in. I'm not giving anything next year. Since it's supposed to be a deeper draft. This damn thing's slowing down on me. If I go all the way slow, it goes slow. But then whenever I go medium. Okay, here it goes. There we go. Got a little bit more speed. I want to show you guys the whole draft, or I'd end it right now. I know it's draft eve, so everybody's getting ready. I got my, spreadsheets ready for tomorrow. My plan is, barring any changes, I'm going to be live here on YouTube tomorrow during the draft. You can follow along. And a reminder, go submit your all 32 mock draft. It'll take a few minutes. Go do it. You might win a $50 Fanatic gift card. Whether you're a Cowboys fan or not, go submit it. It'll help me out growing my Twitter, give some exposure to the YouTube. And also, it's a free, dice roll for a $50 Fanatic gift card. You can buy, put that towards a jersey, buy a couple T-shirts. Mother's Day is around the corner. Maybe you get your mom a shirt of your favorite team. And this is what our final mock draft looks like. I'm going to copy that. It's going to be posted on Twitter after this. But anyways, guys, I know it's late tonight. Thank you for tuning in. If you're here, tomorrow's draft night. It's what we've all been waiting for. It's really the start of the season. Your team is going to be changed and shaped. Whether it's in a good way or a bad way, whatever you think, we'll never know until they start playing. This is my final mock draft. Kenyon Green, Logan Hall, Trey McBride, Alec Pierce. I think that's a great first 4 picks. We picked up that extra second. That's awesome in my opinion. You got my number 2 overall interior offensive lineman, number 3 overall defensive tackle, my number 1 tight end, and a top 10 wide receiver, all in the first 4 picks. You got a center that can come in. He may not start, but he's going to compete with Biotish. You got another guard. I'm going to give you depth. This guy actually played tackle in college, but I think if it came down to it, I'd rather have Kenyon Green out there and him inside. And then you got Brian Robinson out of Alabama. The pedigree's there. He's going to compete for a roster spot, not guaranteed. And then you got your kicker of the future. So I'm very happy with that final mock draft. As always, go hit that subscribe button, hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Ring that bell icon if you want to be notified next time I drop a video or go live. Type down in the comments too if you want to say something, have your opinion. I love to talk back. Go follow me on the Twitter at the Scoop and Score. I'd love to respond back. I love to interact. I want to hear what you guys think because my opinion isn't the only thing that's valid. But as always, guys, take care. Thanks.